Hello, Neil Roberts here.
And Diane Pilkington. We wanted to wish Aaron and Thrash and Treasure and
Thrashin Treasure.
Thrashin Treasure and everyone who has worked on it, as we have been very fortunate to appear on it.
Absolutely.
We wanted to wish you a happy 5th birthday and keep plugging it, keep going on from strength to strength. It was one of the most fun things I have ever done.
It was fabulous, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think I waffled on for about 3 hours.
Really not like you at all.
I know, couldn't get rid of me.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday! Hey! We're going to sing?
No.
Are you? Yes, I'm going to sing.
Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
G'day and welcome to an extra special 5th birthday edition of Thrashin Treasure, the Torture Chamber musical comedy podcast that hopes we don't need to plead the 5th year is when more than 5 people listen to this show. And speaking of plead the 5th, I'm refusing to say my name till I speak to my lawyer, and I'm joined as usual by the Star-Spangled Man with a plan. It's Captain Steve, the stage dad. How's it going?
Hey, everybody. Welcome.
Yep, welcome back. You haven't been on for a while. Awesome to have you back for our 5th anniversary. And speaking of which, you may have heard at the start the wonderful Neil Roberts and Diane Pilkington sending their love to us all here at Thrashin Treasure for our 5th birthday. And if you listen out closely, listeners, throughout the episode, there may be a few more messages popping up here and there. And while Steve and I would normally do a bit of banter in this section, instead we have an extra special surprise for you.
Hey, I'm Duncan Sheik. I wrote the music for Spring Awakening and the music for Alice by Heart and the music and lyrics for American Psycho. And I've done this podcast. Well, we've done it twice, haven't we?
Yep.
And it's been a lot of fun. We talked about a lot of fun stuff. So I'm wishing the boys a happy 5th anniversary. But I'm going to do it, if I may, in the words of Stephen Graham, the English actor who some people may know, who did the 10 Commandments of being a raver, set to the music of Deadmau 5 and Cascade, doing I Remember, right? You may not know this, but the 10 Commandments are good. And, forgive me if I slip into a really bad Cockney or Irish or, Scottish accent.
Please do.
Okay, so 10 Commandments of being a member of Thrashin Treasure. I'm repurposing it. Number 1, you know that old saying, location, location, location. Well, it's dead right, boys. Number 2, seize the day, carpe diem. Number 3, it's not where you're from, it's where you're going. Number 4, fear nothing. Number 5, very important, send your whereabouts to those you believe in. Number 6, stand up and make your voice be heard. Number 7, reject the mainstream. Number 8, the rule is never fail. Just my Argyle Glaswegian coming out there.
Yep.
Number 9, make sure the music is bang on. You can't have a revolution if the music isn't right. Do you know what I mean, boys? Number 10, it's your choice, as it ever was. So I think that's what I like about these 10 commandments, as opposed to the original 10 commandments, is that they're about the modern world and they're also about having some autonomy in what you do, which is why 10 is probably the most important one. It's your choice, as it ever was. And anyway, hopefully I'll see you guys in Melbourne or how do you say it? Canberra at some point soon. I hope to come back to Australia very soon, hopefully in 2026, if all goes well. Because I've never really played a proper bloody show in Australia or New Zealand, and that feels very sad.
Wrong.
Feels very wrong. Feels very wrong.
Very wrong.
Because I think a lot of people would love to have a beer with Duncan.
Yes, that's our song. That's our theme, like our national anthem. That's right. Have to have a beer with Duncan, because Duncan's our mate. Yeah, I'm not a big drinker myself, but even I like to sing that. Just it gets stuck in your head.
No, it's a good ditty. But again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'm just an Irish Scottish reprobate like most white people in Australia. And I have a lot of love for Australia, even the short time I was there.
Yep.
So
Yes, no, definitely got to come back and more than just Adelaide.
no, I was in Sydney a bit and then I was in Perth actually the most. But yeah, it was a great experience. And I didn't get boxed by any kangaroos, although I came close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was an experience I'll always treasure. I may not thrash it, but I will treasure it.
Yep, good. Wonderful.
Anyway,
Yes, we've got to get you here for some concerts or something.
I know, but it's a question of scheduling, so we'll figure it out,
And also money and producers and yes, I know.
etc.
This industry is a bitch.
It's it has its challenges. But anyway, nice to see you. I hope all's well down there. Is it starting to get very warm down there now?
Yes, it is. It has been a hell of a week, I'll tell you that.
When you're just surrounded by a bunch of Scorpios, you do realize what's going to happen, right?
Well, tell me. I'm an Aries though, so I'm supposed to be impatient and messy, but
And in my experience, they really are.
yes.
My mom.
Yes. But I've had to be very patient this week, especially with my mum, because she's supposed to be like she's literally bruised all the way, but she'll get up and start making herself a cup of tea.
Mm.
It's like you don't need to be doing this. You don't need to be lifting 2 liters of milk out of the fucking fridge. But she is. God bless her.
Well, one thing I'll say about people of a certain age who grew up in Australia is there's no shortage of resilience.
No, the little Aussie battler is what we call ourselves.
And battler. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
battler. Yeah, yeah. That's the Aussie accent. Aussie accent for you. Some of my words at the moment are
battler.
just stumbling.
No, I know. It's funny. Like I think I should have a better Australian accent than I can ever manage, but I can do the Irish pretty well.
Yeah,
Scottish a little bit of Cockney.
yeah.
My name is Michael Caine.
That's pretty good. Whereas I try to learn all the American dialects, right? I try to do New York and I slip into Italian.
Yeah, no, New York does have that stupid like stereotype, which is there, but what you really need to do is like well I grew up in South Carolina mostly, so you got to be just like, yeah, man, like let's go down to South Beach and we'll head over Salty Dog and we're gonna get a couple we'll get a couple Bud Lights and we'll see what happens over there. Might be some cute girls too.
We'll go over to Salty Dog and get a couple of beers.
It's funny because it's like when you say it, it still sounds slightly Australian. But I
Yeah,
know that I'm sure when I try and do Australian, it sounds like I'm American. So whatever.
yeah. And so, like, Australia, you got to lean into it, like, Struth, Elsa.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh, Struth, Elsa. Like, if you say that and say it over and over again in front of any Aussie, they will just crack up laughing because
Wait, Struth Elsa?
Ailsa, Ailsa. It's a name.
Elsa,
Ailsa, yeah. Struth, Elsa.
meaning it's the truth, Elsa?
No, meaning like fucking hell, Elsa. Like
Oh,
bloody hell, Elsa. Like it's Struth.
oh,
It's
Struth. Yeah.
yeah,
Struth Elsa. Okay. I'll work on it. I'll
yeah.
work on it.
So if someone says something to you that's like makes you go whoa or bloody hell, you say Struth, Elsa, and they will. I promise you, any Aussie will just crack up laughing because it's a character from a soap opera. Alf Stewart, this classic character. Everyone would be a flaming mongrel or a flaming galah. Listen to these flaming galahs out there, and it would be a group of kids. So he was a real larrick and a real character, and yeah, he become part of our lexicon pretty much.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll work on it. I like these little idiomatic expressions because they're good for songwriting
Yes.
also, which is fun. And, I think Colin Hay, for example, which we've talked about,
Yep, men at work.
he obviously from Scotland originally, but grew up in where did he grow up in? He grew up in
Somewhere. We've claimed him either way. If they were born overseas but became famous in Australia, they're officially an Australian artist. That's how it works. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean, so Colin has he's got a couple songs like later in his catalog, like post Men at Work,
Yeah.
that I just think are so amazing. But anyway,
Yeah.
here we are.
I know he's on Scrubs.
He was on Scrubs.
Yeah, he was on Scrubs heaps, I believe. Like, just kept popping up because Bill Lawrence, the creator, loved him.
He lives in LA now, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
There's actually a new Aussie musical that's just come out. I didn't see it myself, but listening to the album, I think there's a lot of potential there for this girl to, because she's young, to create musicals that might have a standalone track that we can get on the fucking radio finally.
Good.
Because that practice is long gone.
Mm.
I'll send this across to you because I think there's a lot of, like, it's literally a debut musical, and I just think there's so much potential there for going on that avenue. Not necessarily a pop sounding musical, because we do have a lot of those anyways, but writing a musical that sounds like a musical, but you can take out that song that will live on the radio and live in the zeitgeist. And it hasn't happened in a long while.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of us, I'm not that young, but I consider myself the younger generation of theater composers, and
Yeah.
whether it's myself or Lynn, or we all have that sort of goal
Yeah.
in mind, where it's like, yeah, can you make it work in the context of the narrative, but also just make it work as a cool track on the radio?
Yes. We're definitely, like, on Thrashin Treasure, we were on a campaign to get this in people's subconsciouses again, at least. Like, get the idea out there and get people focusing. And there just needs to be the one song will sell the show, because the audiences need to hear it.
Yeah, well, look at Jess. It's doing really well here in New York, and it really has like one pop song in it, I suppose, but that's what sort of made it. But in any case, all right. Well, listen, happy 5th.
Thank you.
I got to get back to Quadrophenia. I got to see if I can get my picture taken with Pete Townsend.
Wow.
He's got no idea who I am, but it might be awkward, but we'll see how it goes.
Yep. Goodness gracious me. Well, you know who I am, and if Pete doesn't know who you are, at least the universe has course corrected that. Because Pete doesn't know who I am. So there you go.
Well, that's a shame.
Pete fucking Townsend, man. Jealous I am, Duncan. Oh my God, fathers. I love Lou. God.
Well, what's not to love,
Exactly.
The guy's a genius.
Look, a dream guest to get him on Thrashin Treasure, but we never will. We never will. I've tried.
It's not, it won't be any harm in trying. All right, let me get back over there before I get in trouble with everybody.
Yes, exactly. No, thank you so much. It's so appreciated. Thank you so much. Truly.
You're very welcome.
A huge thank you to Duncan Sheik. What a wonderful surprise for our 5th anniversary. Anyways, guess what?
What?
Yeah, it's been a while, so he's forgotten that's his one line that he has to say.
You said it as I was taking a drink.
Did I? Sorry. I don't ever look at the screen because I have to look at myself. Anyways, guess what?
What?
We have a legendary Broadway and rock diva boarding the Trans-Siberian Railroad tonight, because who better to celebrate 5 years of TNT than with an actual Thrashin Treasure? So ask no equestrians, just open up your Nicole Page books of Atlanta, Georgia, Monticello, Georgia. I think I went to school with her. At UGA, where this star rose like an Olympic flame and banked on his football skills before taking a punt on business school while kicking goals with talent awards, then cashing in on a career in the arts where he touched down in 1800s France and spent several years Les Miserables and several more in Les Therapy, before boarding a big boat for Broadway and embarking on this brilliant biography of biblical proportions and bouncing this UGA bulldog with a BBA from Barley High to Brigadoon, because my Bonnie and Clyde's over an ocean of credits, as does the huge Aussie G'day and Hello Dolly, which I ship across the South Pacific. So let's Oppenheimer and welcome into our torture chamber an atomic talent from the Minerva realm who pulled some strings with Johnny Guitar, then pulled some teeth in Little Shop before pulling fleas from Tarzan. So whether you're a prince or a pauper, a pawn or vampire, this guest always gives you something to sink your teeth into. You can count on that. As us two face this scientifically rockin' doc who doesn't profess to hide from the spotlight when his is the moment to shine, like the Atlanta Olympic flame. Oh shit, I did that one. But wait, what I didn't do was Nanky Poo, which left us all flushed and hot, Mikado. So before I have to apologize, let me wipe that from the intro and plunge into the depths of this dream engine steaming career. And by George, did he have an epiphany when an angel returned? Because an angel came down with Jesus Christ Superstar and asked, what is Christmas? is, why are people, and when will this Aussie stop talking before bringing us back to a reason part 2 for the season? So dance with them vampires across the night castle grounds to celebrate Mephistopheles' return and our 5th birthday, because this is who you are now. And if I should lose my way to Rocktopia, then at least we're going nowhere fast with the creator and all my children. Ugh, children. Is nothing sacred anymore? For crying out loud. Let's cry out loud with tears of heaven because we have a triple platinum selling artiste conducting our Trans-Pacific Orchestra, an award-winning legend, actor, singer, teacher, and producer. So produce your most rockin' round of applause for Mr. Rob Evan. Yay! Welcome to the Torture Chamber. How's it going? I'm going to drop that. Goodness gracious.
Dude.
Fucking hell.
Dude. Wow. I mean, that was the moment, man. That was literally the moment. That was intense. I mean, you really, God, you dug up some dirt, man. You gave me some song references that I'd forgotten I'd sang. So
purposefully.
I mean, dude, applause track. Hit it now. Well done, my friend. Well done. And I won't say your name so the lawyers don't start calling me. So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Dude, that was brilliant. It was brilliant. Brilliant. I want a copy, and then I'm going to use it.
We're going to have to find it across my room right now because I threw those pages around.
You've done it. I love it.
But that was actually a cold read because, as I said to you before, I finished at 3:40 a.m. this morning. I was in bed by 6.
It was on point, man. It was on point.
Well done, man.
Bravo.
I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Very, very, very much so. Enjoyed it. Very, very much so. And thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, awesome. No, I love that. So while researching that intro, I was absolutely thrilled to find out that according to Google's AI, you showcased your voice in roles such as Rock of Ages on Broadway and as Kitty Wilde on the TV show Glee. And you are looking great for a 15-year-old girl.
You know, I try. It's called Smoke and Mirrors, baby. Smoke and Mirrors.
It's that elixir that Dr. Jekyll.
He made the HJ7 is what it was called. So
Actually, I've watched your bootleg. Well, it's not a bootleg. It's a pro shot. It was the rehearsal pro shot of Jekyll and Hyde. I watched it when I had the beautiful, legendary Christiane Knoll on the show. I watched both Hasselhoff's version and I watched yours. So I was thrilled that someone's put it on YouTube.
yeah, me too. I've gotten a lot of use out of it. So thank you.
Awesome.
So as my co-host mentioned, you began your college career playing. I can tell you wrote this, man, because we don't say American football; it's football. You began your college career playing football, but have you seen any Australian rules football?
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I know how to kick off the ground like that. And I used to do that as a kid because I did watch, what I could of Australian football. So I even made the coaches run a play where if the snap was fumbled, I could still kick it off the ground, do the hobble kick and could kick it almost as far that way without the hole. And then, I love that. That's my favorite, the way they score, the way the refs call it.
And the 2 flags.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, the refs.
Yeah, dude. So yeah, I'm a fan.
The goal umpires, they don't wear them anymore. They used to wear white hats with brims and these like laboratory white coats, and they were iconic, but they just don't wear them anymore, unfortunately. But I'm so thrilled because it's been a while since I've had a chance to ask any guest that question. And I showed Steve a video. He has no fucking clue. He has no clue.
Well, I've watched it before, but I have no clue of the rules. The rule, it looks like everyone running around just tackle the guy with the ball with no rules at all, which is great.
It's like a modified rugby, right?
Yeah.
In a way.
Somewhat, but with a lot more like we can't throw the ball. You're not allowed to throw the ball.
You pitch it.
You're allowed to tap it like in volleyball.
Right.
Or you handball it. So you hold it and you punch it.
Right.
You can mark the ball or catch it, but I think the rule is that you're not allowed to actually like use your body for it. You have to use your hands away from your body. And you can tackle and all that jazz. And it starts off like basketball with a bounce in the center of the field, which is an oval ball on grass. So you can imagine the challenge there for the center players that have to then.
It was always fascinating when you caught it at like 1 a.m. on ESPN, just like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah. Whereas American football, we have rugby, so it's quite easy, but we call that gridiron here.
Okay.
You're lucky, Steve, I didn't write gridiron. Just to discern the difference between the two, that's all.
American football.
Yeah.
It depends on where your audience is, right? So
exactly.
we're on both continents, so it's good to to get it right. Hey, by the way, do you see your logo in my glasses right there? The fire.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, I can too. That is so rock and roll.
That is nice.
Which is perfect. Speaking of rock and roll, we'll move on to the metal album now. Because you've performed to and are recorded with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, we're going to change it up with our new recurring question. So if you could perform in a classic VH1 Devos live with 4 other male Broadway rock vocalists, who is going to be in this killer lineup?
Broadway rock vocalists.
Yep.
Wow.
We'll say dead or alive, just to...
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of who crossed over legitly, who have been the real crossovers. I can think of guys that have done, like I just directed and worked with Adam Pascal. So Adam is definitely somebody I'd work with again and want to work with again. And I know that Adam is directing the Foreigners catalog of their music for Broadway. So, and I'm a big fan of Foreigner and got to communicate with Lou Gramm, who was a big hero. I've gotten to work with a lot of heroes. I've been very lucky, in the rock world, a lot of them. So definitely would want to be with Adam.
Please come on my show, Adam Pascal. Oh my God.
Has he?
No, pleading with him. Please come on my show.
Well, tell him we had a lot of fun.
Well, you say that now. We're only at the start of the episode.
Dude, I have fun in life, so I'm sure there's nothing that's going to go wrong here.
Yeah.
I promise you. Who else would I work with at Broadway? Somebody that I have worked with that I think works legit in the rock world is my buddy Tony Vincent.
Yeah.
Who I don't know if you guys know Tony. I would probably definitely want Tony in the lineup.
From Jesus Christ Superstar.
Gosh, who else? Help me out, guys. Who do we know that have crossed over? And I'll tell you whether they make the list.
The beautiful, amazing Mig Ayesa.
I haven't worked with Mig, but we know each other. And yeah, let's put Mig up there. Absolutely. Because I know he did Rockstar.
In Excess.
Did he do the NXS one?
Yep.
Yeah. So Mig would definitely be there because I think he works in both worlds like legit. It's hard to really be able to get the street cred for the other world. You know what I'm saying? And not be a poser, not be a Broadway guy. I know a lot of great guys that can sing the material. Gosh, who else do we like?
I know that if you ask my wife, she would tell you the guy that recently played Tommy in the revival. She got to see it.
Louis, I can't pronounce his surname, so Louis Ali Bird.
I don't know Louis.
She was up there because we knew the kid playing young Tommy on stage. But she raved about the guy that played Tommy.
I worked with Michael Servis. He did a version of Chess with me, but Michael, I don't think would consider himself a rock star. The guy that would go and be in a band. I'm trying to think of guys who could fit into a band right now. You know what I'm saying?
Michael's in a band. He's touring.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Well, then Michael, I'd love to have Adam Lambert on stage just because I think he's so unbelievable. So is that enough? I think that's a group of guys.
That would be absolutely amazing. And producers, are you listening? I'm setting this up for you to do these concerts. Oh my goodness gracious me.
But I think the vision then would be for us to do both worlds.
Yes.
What I'm saying is if you're talking about that, then we need to do the Broadway rep, but then we need to do the crossover rep, and do the real legit stuff. So in the rock world, that is.
That would be cool.
I mean, I know tons of rock guys that like my buddy Russell Allen, one of the best singers on the planet, Symphony X and Adrenaline Mob and just what a voice. And I got to work with him in Trans-Siberian Orchestra and he's done some demos for me for a new Rocktopia stuff. So he's just an incredible guy and a incredible voice. And of course, Jeff Scott Soto was my Mephistopheles and Jeff was working with Yngwie and he had a moment with Journey, but Jeff's a rock star, but he's never done the Broadway. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of buddies. We've been in this business long enough. We all have either worked together or want to work together. So
we're putting it out there in the universe now.
Well, to piggyback off that, what would you be your ultimate, most over-the-top rock star rider for contract? What would you put in?
Opulent.
Well, I'm sober now, so definitely no alcohol. I would definitely make Green M&Ms one, just because I know that's an epic rider thing. It's a classic.
Yeah.
Gosh, probably a fireplace in my dressing room like I've got right now. I used to say Cuban cigars, but now they just have to be Padrones. I need a really good collection of cigars. I thought it would hurt my voice, but it's actually given me more color, which is hilarious. So I don't inhale, but cigars. And so what else would I put? Opulence. Probably proper silver and china. Michael Crawford, when I covered him in Dance of the Vampires, he had a fucking setup in his dressing room that was like full on, white glove, formal dining
Really?
in between shows. When I came in and, was used to that dressing room, I was like, what in the world is all this? So we had the fine china and the proper silver laid out, with the salad fork and the cold salad fork and the whole thing. So
Oh, geez.
I'll probably have that and maybe my own chef. We had great chefs for the road with TSO with great catering. But I would have it, I'd have probably a Michelin chef in my dressing room. So that's pretty opulent, I think.
Yes, that's wonderful. Look, so do you know how many people will say, well, water or bottled water or the room temperature water, and I have to lose my job. Like, no more water, please. So that is absolutely wonderful.
No, that's whatever. Water. I don't know. Whatever.
That should be like a given. If you're having performers, supply them with water. Period. That's it. Like,
I think Padron cigars and fine dining.
Yeah.
That's what I'd want.
That's perfect.
That's it.
That's perfect.
Anyways, this week I thought we'd celebrate our 5th birthday by picking an album by the first metal band we covered. So I picked Alien Weaponry's Te-Ra. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It is Maori. And I've reviewed it this week after having reviewed them in our very first episode where I wasn't very kind, let's just say, because it was the first one and I was terrified. So I'm going to jump straight into it because it's 4 pages long. All right. When I first chose to give Alien Weaponry another shot, it was partly to celebrate our anniversary and partly in the hopes that I may be a little more fair on this New Zealand outfit. But will this be a terror or blast me into the stratosphere? So I triggered the Spotify and was immediately greeted with a commercial, and a commercial for Spotify Premium. So if ads pay the artists, who the fuck gets paid with that? 1 star. The album began hard, real hard, with Crown, which I noticed is really wordy, mixing Alien's signature unrelenting metal with alternating clean and unclean vocals and topped off with the Maori language. I'm immediately transported back to episode 1 5 years ago, and just like me and this show, this band feels like they've grown up together as an outfit, albeit with perhaps 5 too many words per line, just like me and this show. Some editing may have given this political / monarchical hit a bit more punch lyrically to match the rest. Mau Moko, again, sorry for the pronunciation, ascends into a rocking machine gun sound, and while Spotify doesn't have the Maori lyrics, at least we know what the alien weaponry is now. 1000 Friends came in just as hard as track 1, and with more English lyrics, I'm able to follow along. Lyrically, it would speak to its target audience, and thus far is the most radio friendly. Hanging by a thread gives us less verbose sentences, which allows that intensity of the music to shine more than prior track. Though, am I alone in thinking there's some strange, if not experimental moments of toying with the sound they can perhaps produce as a group? Tama Nui Te Ra, again, sorry, brings more experiment with an odd time signature that would make Sondheim turn in his grave. Yet as deranged as it is, I dig. Overall, as the album progresses, it's clear they're maturing as a trio, and that's exciting. Lyrically, they could use some editing and make a bigger impact with less words. 3.5 stars. The potential is growing as they mature, and I was actually a lot more impressed with this album than I was the last one, and I think that's possibly because I've just come from 5 years of listening to metal against my will. So, yes.
Right away, I was like, it's not exactly, how would we categorize this as metal? Does it get into death metal, or where does it live in the world of metal?
Thrash metal, I think.
Thrash. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Steve's face is saying no. He's the team metal captain here, so he should know.
What do you think?
I'm not sure where I would categorize it either, because my biggest negative on this was there's no guitar solo. And that is a staple of thrash metal, is the blistering guitar solo. When you look back at old, Iron Maiden and early Metallica and stuff, that guitar solo is what makes it stand out. And this album didn't have it at all on any track.
Yeah, I'm such a giant fan of guitar solos, having worked with Al Pitrelli, who sat in with Megadeth, and Alex Skolnick, who's like a brother of mine. And, it's just so legit. Where are they from?
New Zealand.
They're Zealand. Okay, New Zealand. I knew it was something like that. So
I was guessing Pacific Islander when I was listening to it. It sounded something Hawaiian style.
Right.
Yeah. So you're in the right vicinity. Yes.
Right. And what is it called when they do the chants? What is that called when they...
Oh, the haka.
The haka.
Oh, when they storm out of Parliament?
Right. Exactly. yeah. Right. Exactly.
It's a war cry. That's what it is. Like, it's them saying, let's go to war.
Yeah, I love that so much, when that happens and when the rugby teams line up, off against each other and do that. I think it's fucking fantastic.
That was my biggest thing, though, was there was moments on this album where it felt like the songs were, okay, here's where the guitar solo is going to hit. There's the build up. It's all there, and then it just stays the same in the song ends. It's like
Yeah.
missed opportunity.
That's kind of my problem with a lot of their materials, that it sounded too much alike. We get into a groove and I'm like, there it is. Now where are you going with it? And then go anywhere with it. There were a few songs that, of course, being a vocalist, that I'm going to appreciate more, like, what was it, 1,000 Friends or something like that, or that I thought, okay, because more of what I went into with Minerva Realm was prog rock. So that's more my world than metal. And then if metal's going to be my world, obviously Metallica, of course, being the gold standard for me personally. But even with Sabotage, I don't know if you know a lot of that material. A lot of that material is what we recycled for Trans-Siberian Orchestra, because, as you know, Sabotage was the original idea. And when Paul O'Neill, when they broke Christmas Eve Sarajevo, they realized that idea was much bigger than Sabotage could ever be. And so you had the core of Sabotage in TSO always, and then John Oliva, great writer, and using a lot of his stuff. So, that's more my world. So I would say I listened to it because it was my assignment, not because it was something I would probably listen to.
Welcome to my world.
Oh, I would have known about this album had it not been the assignment. Yeah.
Yeah. How are they doing? How's the band doing? Do we know?
They've been going for a few years now. They're quite young.
Okay.
I think they're only in their 20s.
This is a 2025 release.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It sounded dated as fuck to me, man.
Shout out to the boys.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
let me have a look.
Sorry. It sounded like guys that were playing their influences more than themselves. A little bit, which is okay, man. At that age, it takes a while to find your own sound as an artist. It really does. I mean, I started off people wanting to force me into the opera world because I have this big voice, but yet got, by chance, got Les Miserables in a very weird way, auditioning for it, right after football, and just submitting a song and then waiting 5 hours in Nashville to sing. And so, everything that I was doing was either Colm Wilkinson or, somebody else. And then with Jekyll, Anthony Warlow recorded the album before I was hired. And then I was there at the beginning. So Anthony became the sound of me. But through all of that, I grew into my own sound. And now it's fun to hear younger artists ripping me off. It's just kind of the natural progression,
Yeah. Imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Absolutely.
They formed in 2010 when they were 10 and 8.
Wow.
10 and 8 years old.
10 and 8 years old.
Wow, okay.
So they've been going for 15 years. So they're in their early 20s now. And there's 3 of them. 2 of them are brothers, not all 3 of them. So
is New Zealand metal a thing? I mean,
yeah,
like Swedish metal, you've heard of it. That's a
dude. I was married to a Norwegian for 29 years. I know a little bit about that dark fucking metal.
Because we've covered quite a fair bit on here. One of my favorite bands that we've covered on here is a New Zealand band called Devil's Skin, which I actually did with Christiane Knoll because they've got a female vocalist, and I thought she would absolutely dig as a vocalist, and she did. She went crazy for it. So
is Nightwish metal?
Yes, we've covered them because they sort of do like an operatic sound.
Well, there it is. I mean, that's what's her name? Actually,
Jensen. Is it that one?
Yeah. Jensen. Yeah. Yeah. And then and what do you consider Evanescence?
Triggering from my teenage years. That's what I consider Evanescence.
Well, Amy Lee, beautiful voice, but the band itself, I would put them in that new metal of that era.
Rock, hard rock.
With Papa Roach and that other type of new metal.
When I worked with Jim Steinman, he loved Evanescence. Evanescence had just broken. He was a fan. He liked what they were doing.
I mean, it was Amy Lee that set them apart from the other new metal bands.
Right.
I mean, her voice. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's not just her voice. It's the juxtaposition to me. That's to me is what's always made me excited. That's why I created Rocktopia, was having the 2 sounds stay true to what they do, but occupy the same space. Yeah. That's what's interesting to me, Yeah. It's the melding of the shit. So.
And I think with just to bring it back to this album and we'll round it up, they stuck to what they knew too much. There were moments that I felt like they were experimenting and toying around with the sound that they can make and the time signatures, but it wasn't enough to take it over to a 4 stars, in my opinion. It was, as you had said, it was a bit too samey. Because I completely agree on that. I can tell, like, from their first album that we did, there's a growth. There's definitely a growth there. And I think they need to pull back on the lyrics. That's what they need to do. We don't need one line to have 13 syllables in it. It's too much for him to get through because it murkies the water.
Well, because the guitarists are doing that, so let something right on top of that for me.
Yeah, that's it. And I don't think you need to hammer that every single note with a word. It's like choreographers that make a dance move to every syllable in a fucking song. No, chill, guys. Let the dancers breathe for a second. See, the songs could have breathed a bit more, I guess.
That's where the solos come in. You add some solos in there, and it gives that song time to breathe.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyways, where is it? It looks like the alien weaponry knocked us over, but not in the best way. But luckily, we've just received a wonderful message from somebody we might have just mentioned. So we'll be back after these extra special messages.
How you doing, everybody? This is Mig Ayesa, and you may know me from such shows as The Ferals or Rockstar in Excess or a myriad of different other shows, but more importantly, I was on an episode of Thrash and Treasure podcast. So I want to wish everybody at Thrash and Treasure podcast happy 5th anniversary. 5 years. You guys don't look a day over 5. So yeah, congratulations, and many, many more years to come. And you better check out the Thrashin Treasure. Glad it's not Trash and Treasure. What am I, trash or treasure? But definitely I am Thrash. All right.
Hello there, my name is Caroline Sheen, and I've just started an exciting new podcast called Talk Musicals to Me, where I'll be sitting down with some of the biggest names and industry players in musical theatre, including Olivier and Tony Award winners, West End and Broadway icons, and celebrated composers, as they discuss the musicals that have resonated most with them, both professionally and personally, sharing their most cherished musical memories. Join me on this journey through the fantastic musical theatre world and the people who inhabit it. And here is an exclusive sneak peek. We have a very special guest for me, because when I started this podcast a few months ago, most of the shows that this person has been involved with have been answers to the questions on the podcast. I don't think there's been many podcasts where one of your shows hasn't been mentioned. And quite honestly, one of my most foremost memories of going to the theatre with my mum was to see Crazy for You at the Prince Edward Theatre, I think probably in 93, 94, I think. And we had to sit separately because there were no tickets together, and we'd arranged to meet in the interval. I found a spot to meet my mum, and I was standing there trying to stop myself from crying, not because I was sad or lost or worried, but because I was so overwhelmed by what I had just seen on the stage. And my mum isn't a crier, so I was standing there thinking, oh, pull yourself together, Karen, because when your mum comes in, she's going to think you're daft for crying so much. And when my mum turned up, she'd been crying as well.
Aww.
So that was a really special moment that we'd both had separately in that theatre.
That's wonderful.
And so I'm so proud to welcome the wonderful choreographer, director extraordinaire, Susan Stroman, to talk musicals to me today. Hello, Susan.
Hello, I am very, very happy to be here. And I love the opening story.
Oh, thank you.
It was excellent. I loved about you and your mom crying. Wonderful.
It was really special. It was so special. And then I actually ended up in a very small production of Crazy for You, where, do you know the Watermill Theatre in the UK, where they do the actor-musician shows?
Yes.
I did the actor-musician version of Crazy for You in the teeny tiny Watermill Theatre, and it's just an absolute joy of a show.
It makes people happy. You can see the audience put their arms around one another, and
yeah,
I know it makes a lot of people happy.
So happy they cry. So, Susan, with my podcast, I ask everybody the same 10 questions about the musicals that have influenced their lives, not just the musicals you've been influential with, but the other musicals that have shaped your life. So can we jump in and start questioning?
Yes, absolutely.
Lovely. Thank you so much. So my first question is, When did you and musical theatre first meet, and what did you meet? What was the first musical you ever saw, basically?
Well, that's interesting because where I grew up, my father was a wonderful piano player. So there was music in the house all the time. And I grew up in Delaware. Both parents loved it when a musical movie would come on television and everything would stop and we'd all sit on the sofa and watch this musical movie. So I think that's how I started, by seeing how people would sing in a musical, even the old Ginger Roger Fred Astaire movies. So my love for storytelling through music happened at a very early age. I was that little girl who would dance around the living room to her father playing the piano and creating stories and creating dance. But I started to work in community theater in Delaware and the Philadelphia area. But my very first professional show to see when I came to New York was Pippin.
Oh, wow.
And it really had an impact on me because I had never seen anything like it. I don't know that I totally understood it.
Yeah.
But I thought it was fantastic. And I loved the movement. Of course, it was Bob Fosse. And I loved the music. So it really stuck with me as being something very unique and something very different from watching Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers movies on television.
Yeah.
So it had a very unique quality to it, and I'll never forget it.
Oh, that's wonderful. I don't think we've had Pippin as an answer for anything before, so that's fantastic. It's a very conceptualized piece, isn't it? And
yes,
I have seen, like, if you go on YouTube, you can see some like really old stock footage of like the original cast of Pippin, and like these incredible dancers doing choreography that I don't think had ever really been seen before.
No, it was quite wonderful.
And is that something you were interested in at the time, Susan? Were you watching the choreography as somebody who wanted to be a choreographer?
Oh yes, I've wanted to be a choreographer since
Hello, it's Tony Sheldon here, and I just want to wish a happy birthday to Aaron for 5 thrashtastic years with Thrashin Treasure. 5 hilarious and informative and educational years that I'm very proud to have been even a tiny part of. So happy birthday, and here's to many more!
Aaron, you can go, baby.
Awesome. We're back with Thrashin Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Steve, the stage dad. And the voice you just heard was Tony Sheldon, because we're celebrating our 5th birthday with the king of Rocktopia, Rob Evan. Woo-hoo. Now, as we mentioned, you've got a history of sport and the arts. So if the performing arts had an Olympics type event, what discipline would you want to watch people compete at? And what discipline would you enter and win gold at? So an arts Olympics.
Holding a high A for the longest time possibly recorded.
Yeah, awesome. Have you ever shattered a wine glass?
No, that's soprano stuff. That's
true.
No, I'm a big Barry tenor who I used to, back in the day, my email account when they just came out was I sing high A. No, but I literally have fed my family. They're grown now, my 3 sons, on literally that one note. People would laugh. They would time me. I would change notes in TSO because Paul always wanted us. He loved me because I was over the top, to steal a phrase from Jim Steinman, in my performances. And I've always played these bigger than life roles. But my A was at the end of a song called, I guess it was What Child Is This on the Lost Christmas Eve album. When we did it live, it was a little low for me. It was always low. Now I'm a cigar smoker and I'm older, so I have all of that low stuff, which I love. And I'm using that in Mr. Hyde now because I'm revisiting Jekyll 25th anniversary versions. And I've been through some shit. I've been through some real dark stuff. So my Mr. Hyde is evolved and all of that low stuff is really, really great. But I kept all the high stuff. But at the end of What Child Is This, I would just get bored with these songs when I'm doing them live. And so I would just, beginning of the night of the lost Christmas Day, it begins. And he just had me go, it begins. So it begins. And I would hold it. And then these fuckers in the audience would start timing me. So the pressure, how long is he going to hold that note? And then, on the message board, so he held it for 25 seconds tonight, yada, yada, yada. So I'm like, that's the event you can enter me in the Olympics, in the Performing Arts Olympics, holding a high A.
Fantastic.
I should totally get you to do those introductions because I'm so out of breath at the end of them. Goodness gracious me. What would you want to watch people compete at?
Not overacting.
Yep. Have to do a pantomime script, but not overact it.
In theater?
That's the event I want to see. Don't overact.
Yep.
Let's go.
Goodness gracious me.
If there was one thing you could change about Broadway culture to make it more rock and roll, what would you implement?
Man, that's a rough one. Broadway is evolving. So it's, it has, a lot of the jukebox musicals that do, and Rock of Ages was a take on that. So it was camp on purpose. It's the ones that try to do it as Broadway singers and then telling stories of these catalogs that don't work for me. I mean, what would I change to make it more rock and roll? The sound is changing. So they're evolving sound to make it so that we really do feel like we're at more of a rock concert. So, I would have to say it'd have to get louder, and the sounds, but that can be a problem for a lot of the Broadway theater goers. So for me, I need music in my face, and I really want to feel like there's a band that's pumping that out. So that's maybe one thing that I would probably change. And they are working on that, is the sound, overall sound.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when I saw Six, that's basically what it was a concert.
Yeah.
Like a pop funk concert.
People love that shit. That's what I do, is concert thing. We were chastised by the Times and other places by Rocktopia that it's like, this shouldn't be on Broadway. And I'm like, well, it's a fucking concert.
Yeah.
Springsteen's on Broadway doing his concert. He's telling stories, but people love concerts, man. And people love theatrical concerts. And if you go back, most great concerts have an element of theatricality to them, so I don't see anything wrong with that.
No, you're absolutely right. Gareth Owen, the sound designer, he worked on like the Symphony of Metallica, and he's worked on a bunch of, like, before he got into theater, doing sound design in theater, he was doing rock concerts.
Carl Richardson was our sound designer for Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
And Carl was the producer of Saturday Night Fever, the record. And he was a friend of Frank Wildhorn's. And, he came in there and was like, speakers are all wrong. Everything's all wrong.
Yeah.
So, you got to think about the economics behind that too. But redesigning spaces, you're not carrying in these big, with TSO, we brought all of our sound with us. With Rocktopia, we brought our sound with us. So you're hanging these big, speaker towers and everything. The Broadway theaters are just not designed for that,
Right.
So it's hard.
Yeah, because then Patty LuPone will complain.
She'll just complain if you fucking make a phone call.
Very true. You can hear your voice. Anyways, we love you, Patty. Please come on the show. I promise not to ask you about Liluri, any controversy you've been involved in the past 5 years. Anyway, speaking of the last 5 years, we're going to move on to the musical now. Hey, that was scripted and perfect. And that's exactly what I've chosen. So Steve's going to review it this week. But before he does, we're going to hear another extra special message from somebody who I've worked with numerous times over the past 5 years.
This is Caroline Sheen here, wishing you and congratulating you on an amazing 5 years of Thrash and Treasure. I'm so proud to be a guest on it. I'm so proud to have co-hosted on it on the odd occasion. And I can't wait to hear more from you guys. Loads of love.
And that was, of course, the beautiful Caroline Sheen. But anyway, Steve.
All right, so the last 5 years, I went in completely cold. I knew nothing about it other than they made a movie recently. That's all I knew. So it was quite the ride, and I did enjoy it. Right out the gate, Betsy Wolfe was a VIP for me of the, what year was this? The off-Broadway revival class?
I think 2013. So yeah, we did the revival, not the original, because I've heard that so many times.
Well, Betsy Wolfe she nailed it for me. I did see her in Anne Juliet. She was great there, but it was really nice to hear her on this cast album. And the other guy, Adam Cantor, he was great too. But I really enjoyed Betsy Wolfe. But the real star for me was the concept. It took me a song or two to figure out what the hell was going on. That it was the same story, but in a crisscross. You're getting one version. Kathy's story moves backward while Jamie's moves forward, and that was fascinating. With the colliding in the middle with one song, it was devastating but brilliant, because it could have been just another generic two artist in a doomed relationship story that is going to fail. That's been done many times over. But in this version, there's kind of no villains. You're seeing everything from one point of view and then the other, and that was fascinating to me, because neither of them are completely innocent in what breaks down this relationship. Jamie is arrogant and unfaithful, but Kathy is needy and passive aggressive, and it comes out in these beautiful songs. A couple of highlights for me would be Summer in Ohio. I thought that one was great. Climbing Uphill, and then Nobody Needs to Know. Those all just kind of jumped out at me. The piano score, fantastic. I could listen to that as an instrumental piano score the entire thing. I would love that. But overall, I can see why it's a cult maybe that's the wrong way to say it, a cult following, but it's a popular show. You know, they've recently made a movie, and obviously it's been done off Broadway and several revivals across the country, but it hasn't gotten to like a Hamilton or Les Mis style or level because it is quite depressing. There is not a happy ending here. You don't really walk away feeling good. You watch these people collapse, and it's kind of a see it once to me. I don't really need to go see that story again, but I did enjoy the music.
So you went in cold and you came out cold, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but I did enjoy it. It's a good cold.
Yeah, I could say that.
You know, to be really honest, I hadn't listened to it, and I know Jason Robert Brown, and I know he's brilliant. You know, Parade and just is brilliant. That said, I'm not a musical theater fan. Period. I do a lot of musicals, and that was a genre that I found myself in, and I was just, I think, the right guy at the right time. You know, especially with the mega musicals and what I do. And you know, Jason is a giant opponent of Frank Wildhorn, and Frank's a really good friend of mine. So I come in, you know, understanding both and having done more than just Frank's shows, but going, this is probably not a show that I would have ever wanted to be in or had any interest in. I know Jeremy Jordan. I know Amy Spanger very well, who played it at one point, and Sherry Renee Scott and Norbert, I believe, did it originally. These are people that I like and I think are fantastic. It was made into a movie, but did the movie do well?
No.
Not really. You know, there is audiences for this and younger audiences, and it's an affordable show for the regional theaters and for the community theaters to license.
Yeah.
So I find a lot of value in there.
Two people.
Right. Jason is very smart. It doesn't really resound to me personally, but I appreciate it a lot. He is a really smart writer. He's a piano player too. So obviously you like that piano score because that's authentic Jason Robert Brown stuff. You know, sing loud and high. And that's kind of where I live.
That's a valid point, that the licensing and the production cost to do this nationwide, at whether it's a high school or community theater, two people and a piano player, that low cost, I never even thought of that. That could also build that cult following, and you get youngsters.
They all can afford it. They all can do it, you know, and I love that. I love that portion of it. You know, I really do.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah. The songs, the songs are absolutely beautiful. I agree in terms of depressing. They're not terribly challenging in terms of vocals, so that does allow high schools to be able to do them. But cult following, definitely, because it is very depressing, but the songs are just so incredibly beautiful. So I feel like the album is able to stand on its own, or at least you're able to take songs out of it and they're able to stand on its own without being tied into the story or the show.
Yeah.
Because it reads like a pop album very much, or at least a concept album, because these songs have a pop a pop feel to them. I can't think of the right word I'm trying to say, but Sentiment. Yes, that's it. That's what I was looking for.
I appreciate that because there's some honesty to the way they deliver the songs, you know, as far as the storytelling is concerned. And I think that where Jason can really hit home to an audience is that it'll go right through you. You feel like that you're not being assaulted by a voice necessarily. So they're grounded, you know, and his writing is grounded, very much so, and smart. When you're in New York, as opposed to being on the road or whatnot, there's a very different audience and the requirements that they need for it to be a critical success. Now, a financial success is a whole different ballgame. And those two always butt heads in New York. So there's so many things that I go, as a producer, because I'm a producer now, why are we spending the money on this? Because there's no return on investment. But there's the art portion that I do heavily believe in. And so I think that this found a good happy medium between the two without being completely just so inside. It deals with real people's stories and people can relate to the relationship and things like that. For me, I like great fucking songs. You know, so if I'm going to produce or try to raise money for a project, and I've just dealt with a couple of things that I was involved in early on and going, can you give me one or two songs that I just need to hear over and over again and just hook me on? And this one didn't, unfortunately, for me. I didn't invest enough time in it, and maybe I will now. But the reason I listened to this as well was because it was homework.
And like I said, that what really drew me was the story, not the music in full. I liked the story and the characters.
Well, and I think that absolutely is super important if you're going to do a musical. You know, that's why, to me, Jersey Boys worked, is because underneath that, all those great fucking songs is a real story, you know, and the reason great catalogs like the Beach Boys, who I just worship, they destroyed it. And I don't care, you know?
They're cynical.
And then you're messing with the music, too, by Broadwayifying it. So you just You
Tell
just
me about
lost me, man. You killed all my nostalgia and all my memories. I love nostalgia. So what I'm trying to do with Rocktopia always is the nostalgia portion is a huge point, but I don't want to be just a tribute band. We've got to take it somewhere else too, but still absolutely honor what it is naturally, what it's supposed to be, what it has to be.
Yeah, just in terms of like it being depressing, there's numerous musicals that end on a sour note or a depressing note, but I would say this as least offensively as possible. They're not as emotionally wearing on the viewer as this one is. Like Next to Normal is quite emotionally wearing on the viewer, but Les Mis, as depressing as it is, it's even in the title that they're all miserable. And everyone's dying or dead by the end of it, you still leave pumped. You still leave.
Or like Sweeney Todd, everybody dies at the end, but I walked out of Sweeney Todd singing everything in my head. It was phenomenal. The music was just exploding.
And hungry. Whereas I sort of feel like because this is so relatable, you're not able to walk away with any sort of...
Sweeney Todd's not relatable at all.
To you.
Yeah.
That's it.
These are my friends. See how they glisten.
Speaking of which, we actually had Michael Cerverus on the show, but we didn't do Sweeney Todd. We did Tommy with him.
Yeah, fuck yeah. You do Tommy with Tommy. You do Tommy with the Tommy.
Exactly. There was no way I was doing anything else. So hopefully, Michael, please come back on the show. Well, I was going to throw us to an ad break, but it seems the post has arrived again. But who is it from this time?
Hi, I'm David Zippel, wishing Aaron and everyone at TNT congratulations on 5 smash years. You've been torturing the international theater community with rock and roll for a long time. Keep at
it. From the producers of Thrashin Treasure, around the world in 80 plays, starring the adorable Lizzie B and Alfie Parker, and featuring the star of the show, Dolly the dog, they'll take you for a trip around the UK, exploring the rich arts and cultural history. But here is a sneak peek.
Anyway, we are in Cardiff this week.
There you are.
Bit flat.
Available.
We'll
perform for hot dogs.
If in fact, if they just made you one of those hats with the string on it and the hot dog like on the string in front of your face,
Yeah,
you'd put loads of effort in.
I would. I wouldn't mark it for once. Be good.
You said it. No, we're having a lovely week in Cardiff, aren't we, Al?
Yeah, staying with Neil.
Staying with Neil.
Our musical director, Neil MacDonald.
Our lovely musical director, and Dolly is absolutely buzzing that Neil is there, honestly. We're so lucky with Dolly because she loves people and she finds having company from other people so exciting.
Yeah.
And Neil quite often has got home before us each night and we go in and they're cuddling.
Always cuddling. Neil and Dolly, little romance.
And it's nice because our digs here are genuinely a 30-second walk from the theatre. Lovely Airbnb.
Yes, Diana, this is one of the reasons why I haven't really ventured out this week, because I am round the corner, Chelps.
But yeah, we are in Cardiff, as we keep saying. It's the capital city of Wales. Big up Wales. You're doing Swansea as well.
Yes.
And I did Llandudno on the last bit, which is one of the best tour venues because it's a nice seaside town. And you were going there, but not anymore.
Cancelled. I have never been to Swansea, I don't think.
No, I don't think I have.
That's
That'll be
exciting.
nice. As usual, we travelled by train, didn't we? And we came all the way from Brighton. We've actually weirdly done that journey quite a few times because even though Alfie's chosen to forget about it, we go to Cardiff quite a lot. And the journey was fine because you pretty much go into London and then it's a straight train from Paddington.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not too bad.
No, fine. Only a couple of hours, really.
Yeah, not too bad
Not
at all.
bad.
It's been an amazing audience reaction so far. It's the second time that the Sister Act tour has come here because I was here, weirdly, exactly a year ago because I had Halloween in Cardiff. And it's so nice to be back because last year when I was here, I had my COVID booster, and my COVID booster gave me the flu, and I missed half the week. And I was so gutted because I love Cardiff and I love the Wales Millennium Centre so much. So far this week, I've done the whole week, and I'm planning to try and get through this 3 weeks and just power through no matter what, because don't cry everyone, but it's coming to the end of my time on the tour. So yeah, I'm just hoping to get through these next 3 weeks without any hiccups and enjoy my time. Oh, shut up. The only bad thing about the Wales Millennium Centre,
I know what you're going to say.
It's not dog friendly.
It is a shame.
And we're talking like really not dog friendly.
Get your dog away from the theatre.
Yeah.
Kind of unfriendly.
That's a shame. But that's why having digs that are so close has been an absolute godsend. And Dolly has had amazing dog care this week.
Yes. Big up Jess Takes the Lead.
They had her last year and they loved her. She loved them. They were so brilliant, because we've mentioned it on here with trying to get dog care in each of the cities. It's really difficult because a lot of places just won't take dogs they don't know. But Jess Takes the Lead was recommended to me through my friend Laura Mansell, who I did Fat Friends the musical with. They were brilliant last year, so we've used them again twice this week, and they've been amazing again. And it's just great that Dolly is kind of getting some stimulation being with other dogs and other people.
Aaron, it's your old pal Craig here, and I am delighted to wish you a happy 5th birthday for your show, which I've done twice now. Is it twice or is it 3? I think it's twice. One of them was really long, so we can say 5, I think. Congratulations. That's no small feat. Here's another thing that isn't. That's big. That's a big feat. Anyway, I want to wish you a happy birthday, tell you that I'm grateful to have you as a friend, and thank you for doing an episode with my mom. That was really fun, and we look forward to doing that again. So have a great year, and congratulations again. It's a remarkable thing, and it's a terrific show. Keep going on, man. Keep going. Uh-oh,
Anyways, we're back with Thrashin Treasure. I'm the incorrigible Aaron. That's the indestructible Steve. Those voices you just heard were the immortal god of Mount Olympus, David Zippel, and the incomparable Craig Bierko. And we're joined by the incendiary Rob Evan. Now, you do lots of things incredibly well, but what's one normal, everyday thing that you suck at that everybody else can do perfectly well?
Oh, boy. There's so many things. Jog.
Yep. Oh, fuck jogging. Oh, no way, man. Do you know napping is a thing, people?
Dude, I can nap like a champ.
Yes. Rather do that than jog. Everyone else, you can go have your 5-kilometer jog.
I think it's pronounced yogging. I think it's a soft J. I think that's it.
Oh, Godfathers. I think it's a waste of time. That's what it's called. Anyways.
So the dentist is my favorite role in Little Shop. Every actor brings something completely unhinged to the role. So when you played Orin Scrivelli.
Scrivello, yeah.
Scrivello, I've heard it. You know.
You can call me doctor. Doctor.
Yes, doctor. What antics did you pull on stage to put your own stamp on the role?
I just replaced Doug Sills, and Doug is a friend of mine, and we did it very differently. The one thing that in the review that I loved, that it said that I brought a humanity to Orin. You know, he was described as a guy, I think it was Kathleen Marshall was my choreographer. And at that time, I was in my 30s. She was like, it's a guy, middle-aged. And I was like, middle-aged? I'm not middle-aged. And she said, who's just hopeless and insecure and really just needs to impress everybody, including himself. And he probably, has those, I don't know if you guys saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah, Tarantino.
DiCaprio was, in the trailer and just ranting at himself, I imagine Orin would do that, by himself. Any villain that I play, I try to not play as a villain, so that when he does die, unexpectedly, he's like, "What did I ever do to you, man?" It was like literally, "What did I do? Why am I dying?" As opposed to everybody going, "Thank God he's dead." But I did have some freedom on stage to mess around, and Doug actually taught me that from when he played Scarlet Pimpernel. And I'm so locked into these characters. During that time, I was Jekyll and he was Pimpernel. And I saw him play. And so I just decided that that's what I was going to do, is it was going to be a one-man show whenever I was on stage. So my favorite times was just making Joey Fatone just literally crack up, because I would just go off script and they loved it when I did.
Nice.
And I would just fuck around a lot. And sometimes it would work. Death is easy. Comedy is hard. But I play comedy always. And because this play was so perfectly written by Howard Ashman and Alan Menken, of course, being a lot of great songs came out of that one, huh? But it was so perfectly written. And there's literally a preface to the script to tell you how to play it. And it's just play it as truthfully as you can, but just make the stakes as high as possible. So you're never playing jokes or comedy. You're just playing truth, but it's just so big. So my truth was always so big that it was funny. And I had the best time probably of any show that I've ever done being that, and was so unhappy when it had to end. I remember my wife, my ex-wife now, God bless her, she was like, "This is the show that I am the most happy you're in, because you come home just completely happy and normal," where Jekyll was miserable to be married to me, for 3 years. I was always constantly angst, and with this one, it was so much fun to be in that show.
That's cool.
And Jekyll was a bit of a rocky road on Broadway, but also Little Shop was as well. Like I hear it now, people are like, "Oh, it should never have gone to Broadway. It should never have gone to Broadway." Yes, it fucking should have gone to Broadway. It should have gone to Broadway at least 20 years before it actually did.
Well, and the drama before our version was that, they were down in Florida doing the director, I think, was the original stage manager. And so there were just so many things that the casting with Billy Porter as the plant, and Alice Ripley, who's a friend of mine, was Audrey. And I can't remember, maybe it was Hunter that was Seymour then, and he's the only one that made it to Broadway. But there was a lot of producers, a lot of money, a lot of people that had, real strong opinions. I'm just thrilled that it did make it to Broadway and I got to be in it. Really, honestly, should it never have gone to Broadway? I don't know. Yeah, of course it should have. I saw the off-Broadway version recently. I don't know I can't remember who was Seymour. It wasn't Jeremy. And I didn't know my friend Jeremy Kushner ended up playing the dentist. I thought it was great, but I missed the size of it. I thought it was sweet and cute and quaint, but what we got to do on Broadway was a lot more fun, I think, because we were, there was more money being thrown at it and it was bigger. And the audiences loved it. Those times there's a lot of agendas going on with these, having now rented the theater and knowing the theater owners and what happens there. There's so many different things that go on. And with Dance of the Vampires, God, talk about a disaster of epic proportions financially. But we were gaining an audience. And one of our producers, who had a lot of money in it, at a party, they found out that somebody made a joke about it and they shut us down. So we were actually gaining an audience. As big of a train wreck as it was gaining an audience. So you never really know what's happening there.
Yeah.
Rocktopia completely slipped under my radar, which is odd because it seems like it was custom made for me. Mashups of Zeppelin and Puccini, Floyd and Muse. It's fantastic. I went down a deep YouTube rabbit hole and I am a fan now.
Oh, thank you.
How did this concept come about and who writes these mashups?
Yeah, they're all in my head. I'm the one that comes up with them and knows kind of where I want to go with them.
Fantastic.
Because I'm a giant fan of both worlds. Like, my collaborator was a conductor named Randall Fleischer, and we lost Randy during COVID, not because of COVID, but he just went out for a jog. It was a picture of health and had a widowmaker heart attack and killed him. But Randy and I had been doing symphony work together because, being a father myself, I assume you're a father, Steve, if you're,
I am.
Yeah. So,
stage dad. Yeah,
I am too. I don't
Right.
look like it. Well, I raised my nephew.
You don't look like it.
Yeah, I know. I look like the uncle, and that's what.
Do you have a penis?
Yes, last time I checked. But no, I didn't have the fun to have the child, but I've raised him since he was 5 months old, so he's about to turn 16.
Well, there you go, man. So you're definitely a father. And incidentally, I didn't take on Valjean until I became a father, even though I was young. I was 27 when I first played Valjean on Broadway. So much too young to play the part, and I was much better later when I revisited it in different versions. But being a father is a father, and that capacity in your heart, Aaron, I know you're a father, so you know what that is.
Yeah. Look, he's about to turn 16 and there is no other parent. So it's me and the grandparent. So,
well, kudos, man.
Now I'm bankrupt, aren't I?
Yeah.
So, anyway, sorry, you were answering about Rocktopia.
Randy had, deep roots in the classical world. I had a lot of deep roots in rock. I wanted to, in high school, I was in a band and I wanted, that's what I wanted to be. It was a front man, but I just had this big voice that wasn't necessarily that guy. So Broadway seemed to be the perfect avenue for me. But then having Jim Steinman work with me and Paul O'Neill and me getting, some street cred over in that world. But my heroes, growing up in the 80s was rock then, which is classic rock now. But the through line that Randy and I both saw were these songs that would go on way beyond the writer's lifetimes. I saw the symmetry between the two worlds that said if Mozart and Beethoven were alive now, they'd be our rock stars. And if, Freddie and Plant and Page and those guys and Gilmore and Townsend all were alive back then, they would be our classical masters. So I saw these hooks and these beautiful ways to fuse them. And that's just the way my brain works. And we also noticed that going out in symphony orchestras that even though we were funding with the Pops orchestras doing the Broadway hits, it wasn't really what these people were trained to play, a bunch of whole notes. They were trained to play Mahler and Stravinsky. And, so we wanted to come up with something that would work in both worlds. And then Paul O'Neill being my mentor, obviously, and kind of fusing, but not really fusing. I always felt like there was an opportunity to do more because I love orchestral music so much. I thought it would lift the stuff up. And then obviously after seeing what Metallica did with the symphony, and I was just like on fire. And then there was another, I don't know if you guys saw the Kennedy Center Awards when they did Zeppelin and Wilson came in and fucking ripped Stairway to Heaven apart. It was just, I was like, this is what we're doing. And Randy was on board. And so I would come up with these concepts and then he would orchestrate them and we'd work them out. And so I had done a show, being a father, I've always needed to feed the family between shows and between TSO tours and records and things like that. I have to keep working. You guys know how that is. We've got to fund our families. So I created a concert where I could show off that I could do multiple genres, and it was called the Rock Tenor. And I didn't call it Rob Evan in Concert because I knew Rob Evan in Concert wasn't going to sell more than an idea, knowing that from Les Mis being the star of the show, even though you have breakout stars, or Trans-Siberian Orchestra, a lot of us, it's a super band basically, but we're not the stars. The idea is the star. And so Rock Tenor went extremely well for me in Philadelphia, that some of my producing partners said, I think you have a bigger idea. And that's when Rocktopia was born, and I brought Randy in and we started fleshing out some of these things. And so we did it in Budapest for PBS, and that was my favorite version. We had 150 people on stage, and we were in the Hungarian Opera House with the Budapest Philharmonic and then my rock band and then some singers, because again, I wanted to show a variety of singers that would somewhat stay in their lane, but yet all of this would transcend into something extraordinary. And then we did a tour that we had to deliver for PBS that we basically had to do ourselves. So it wasn't a financial success for us, but we delivered the tour. We saw an opportunity to stop on Broadway. So we had the relationships, and we had Miss Saigon closing and then King Kong opening and a 2-month window. So we said, we're going to go put it in there. And then we were about to tour again and the world shut down. But right now looks like we have an opportunity to do it at a stadium outside the Acropolis in Greece.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
And bring it to Australia, of course.
Well, I'd love to, but even more so,
Melbourne.
Paul O'Neill died in 2017. I vowed to stay out of the Christmas market out of respect of my mentor and whatnot. But we've now written a full Christmas show, which is based on Christmas Carol. And Rupert Holmes wrote the book for me. Rupert won some Tonys for the unfinished Dickens novel, The Mystery of Edwin Drood. And we all know Rupert from the Pina Colada song. But Rupert is a gem and just redid Pirates of Penzance. And so Rupert, we basically set it in, it's Benjamin Scrood, who was a record producer. And he says, if you sign with me, you're family. And his artist would say, if you sign with him, you're screwed. So through that, I've been able to take Tchaikovsky and mix that in with so many other things. And so we've got this story of the Christmas Carol, but based, around Scrooge, being a guy probably now in his late 60s, early 70s, who was in a boarding school and went to Woodstock, was started in a garage band, but then realized money was what made him happy and he'd be the producer. And so it's that whole journey. So right now we're in development for that. So it's called Rocktopia's Magical Christmas Carol. And we're using some of the Harry Potter people to help us with some of the magical, practical magic and stuff. So it's a bigger endeavor, but the score's been written. Kim Scharnberg, who was my orchestrator for Jekyll and Hyde and a lot of Frank stuff and is a brilliant orchestrator, and he conducted 2 weeks on Broadway, is now my collaborator for that. And yeah, Rocktopia is very much alive.
Very cool.
Wonderful. I just want to throw it in there quickly. I wrote my own version of Christmas Carol, but it's actually backwards, where Scrooge is really nice and everyone else is the assholes.
Oh, interesting. It sounds like Pluribus. Have you heard about the new show Pluribus?
No, I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard of it.
Yeah.
So it's basically he learns to grow a pair of balls. So, anyways, is there a duet you're dying to tackle, and who would be your ultimate partner for it? Would it be Christian Knoll or Stasi Barzi? Shout out to beautiful past guests of this show.
Stasi Barzi, Anastasia?
Yep, Anastasia Barzi.
Oh, Barzi. Christian's like my sister. I love Anastasia as well, and I haven't seen her in a minute.
She looks no fucking different than she looked 25 years ago, Rob. I don't know what virgins she has been sacrificing, but God, that woman is beautiful. Anyway, sorry.
She's gorgeous. She's such a diva. I mean, I would gladly sing anything with any of them. The phone book. What duet have I not taken on?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to do an orchestral live version of the Mountain Duet from Chess. That's one of my favorite duets. So either one of them, I would love to sing that with.
Oh, wonderful.
You know, I take that back. I did the Mountain Duet with Christiane when we did a version of Chess that Michael Serafis was in, and Norm Lewis was in, and Brian Darcy James was in.
Oh, wow.
Brian was Freddie, I was Anatoly, Christiane was Florence, and Alice was Svetlana. But we gave Alice someone else's story. We changed it up a bit. It was cool. Very cool.
Yeah, if you want a lifetime supply of one thing, what would it be?
Probably cowboy ribeye.
Yep, steak.
I was expecting Padron.
Yeah, I was expecting cigars too. That's why I had to clarify. I'm like, am I mishearing something there? I had a beautiful steak last night. It was cooked to perfection. Oh my godfathers. Anyways, what's been your most cathartic or soul-changing concert-going experience as an audience member?
Chicago was my first concert as a teen. You know what? It would have to have been the Beach Boys when I was in high school. That was like the harmony was just, and Brian was with them at the time. So that was crazy for me, being a young man. You know, I've seen a lot of concerts. The problem is with my head now when I watch concerts or movies, or because I overanalyze things too much, I can't just experience it anymore. It's difficult. You know, I really want to be that guy again. I just can't. It's tough, you know, for me to just get lost in some. I'm looking for that again.
Yeah, I 100% get that. Because think about it, we have to review things on this show, and so
it's hard.
Literally everything I watch now, I'm so much more analytical than I was, say, 10 years ago. Steve, your question?
What is your travel music? The tunes and artists you personally put on when you're going to get from here to there, like a long flight or something?
That's a rough one for me, man, because I'm always learning something or I'm analyzing something. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to put in next. And because I like all kinds of music, it really is just at that moment, I'm immersed in travel music. Probably, well, I mean, I've listened to a lot of classical music. It would be something more about what would calm me and set my mood right. You know, if I was driving, if I'm flying, it might be classical. If I'm driving, it would probably be, I've had a lot of journeys with the Eagles. I don't really listen to a lot of shows, even though the kids, you know, the kids were into Hamilton. So of course we learned, you know, we got into Hamilton, and that was a role that I wished I could have played, was King George at one point, just because I thought it would have been so much fun.
I think it's still time.
You know, I've listened to so much classic rock. I've listened to so much. I wouldn't say that I listen to a lot of opera. It's more the big arias that I would listen to, but it would just be for me to emulate that. You know, I wanted to hit higher notes as a younger man, and Pavarotti taught me those. So when I put Ness and Dorma into Rocktopia, it was purely selfish, because I just needed to climb that mountain. You know, a lot of these things are selfish, but then you also, as a pro, you need to know your limitations. So it's like, what should I not sing? How about that part?
Yep.
All good answers.
Are you much of a cinema buff? We've talked lots about sports and music, but what about cinema?
Well, I'm a huge cinephile.
Yeah.
I watch movies every night. Again, depends upon what mood I'm in. First of all, I'm a giant Star Wars fan. So really, really big. I really loved the Avengers ride, but I've kind of lost faith in Marvel a little bit. I do like, the classic horrors. Like one of my bucket lists was I got to read lines with Stephen King and then go into another room and work with John Cougar Mellencamp on their musical, The Brothers of Darkland County, in the original development of that. And I was so miscast. I was so too young to play the father. But yet somehow here I am reading with Stephen King. So of course The Shining, and Kubrick.
I just watched The Stand over the weekend, the original miniseries.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Totally.
I'm in the middle of Weapons.
What'd you think?
I'm actually really enjoying it because it's not what I expected.
My family, we produce independent horror films. So
Oh wow.
I've kind of, jumped into that world now too. But I find myself more attracted to like fantasy than drama and things like that. It's just kind of who I am. I'm a dreamer. I'm a guy, who thinks he's still, 17 years old in his brain. So it's like, what makes me dream or takes me away from a reality. It takes me a lot to get into a series, but once I do, I'll binge it. Of course, Breaking Bad, who can beat that? And then Better Call Saul, the follow-up. And Pluribus is also Vince Gilligan. So just FYI. I just binged through Slow Horses, which I fucking love Gary Oldman. He's one of the few that I ever got starstruck by when I got to meet. And then Dark Matter, I thought was super interesting. Things like that. Also, I think The Third Body Problem is what it's called. I don't know. I love science fiction a lot.
Yeah, cool.
For a different podcast, I recently watched the old version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which I had never seen before. I had always written it off as just some cheesy 70s horror movie. I didn't care. It's fucking great.
I'll have to watch it. I haven't seen the original.
With Donald Sutherland, it was fantastic.
That's right. Now, you mentioned before trying to make Joey Fatoni crack up on stage. Now, are you much of a corpse, though?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm the guy that laughs at his own shit, which is funny. And then I think they're laughing because I'm laughing so hard. I'll drive jokes into the ground on purpose and can make people laugh. But I corpsed really bad. And I think that's why I didn't end up doing it off Broadway, was in Bat Boy. I was the original Dr. Parker in Bat Boy.
I love that show too. It's great.
That and Caitlin Hopkins, who played my wife, we had too much chemistry. And you're not supposed to have chemistry. It's supposed to be non-chemistry. And we had a lot of chemistry. So I think those two things. But I remember Stephen Sondheim coming to see our run through, and I held up the syringe like Sweeney Todd in front of him. I know they ripped me off because I did it fucking around. Yeah. And then I started laughing and I couldn't. And then there was this time where we simulate taking her from behind, and I just was crying. I was laughing so hard. I couldn't in a run through. I just couldn't keep it together. Could not keep it together.
But where did you take her off stage? I'm kidding.
No, it's dead center, baby. Dead center stage.
Spotlight. Lastly, what animal would be your animated talking sidekick?
Oh, fun.
Just because I had so many and I love them, it's a black cat with green eyes.
Oh, wonderful. Who would voice it, though?
I'll let Christiane voice it for me.
Yes? Oh, wonderful. Are you listening, Christiane? You just got yourself a gig. That's it. You made it to the end of the torture chamber in one piece. Thank you so much.
That's a torture chamber?
But it is for people who don't listen to rock and roll. Let's just say that.
Dude, has it been torturous for some people?
Yes.
I thought we were just getting started, guys. What are you talking about?
No, one of the metal albums triggered one of our guests. It gave him great anxiety. But they were wonderful, wonderful guests. And so were you. It was truly what an honor, and listening to all these stories. And
question, and educate me, please. There was a King Kong musical on Broadway?
Yes, it started here in Melbourne, mate. I saw the world premiere production.
I've never heard of this.
But I saw a different one.
Lost a lot of money, man.
Lost a lot of money. Lost money here in Melbourne.
Like Spider-Man musical money, lost, like that level?
Almost. Spider-Man, nothing beats Spider-Man because they kept pumping money into it.
I'd never heard of it.
You won't see it done in high schools or regional theater either. Tarzan was another one that I was a part of that I went, man, we just kind of dropped the ball. But one of my pinch me moments was in my dressing room. And a lot of these things I've been first replacements on, unfortunately not in the original, which honestly, I've done some original ones. They're painful, getting them up on their feet. Dance of Empires was super painful and super disappointing because I was the last brought on because they knew I was right for Krolok, the lead vampire, but Michael had already signed on. So I kept getting to my agents, why the fuck am I not getting considered for this? And they're like, well, the role's been cast. And so when they finally at the last minute needed to hire the standby, they hired me. And Michael and I are just like night and day different. But from that, I got a real relationship with Jim Steinman and got to be, put on all of those Meatloaf songs and at the Hit Factory and really learn to record, like a rock star back in the day at the highest level in these recording studios that don't even exist anymore, because they're either condos or parking lots. But that was the show that I was like, oh, honey. And I had signed to take over on Broadway. He was going to go to LA and then London. And I was like, this is it, honey. This is so my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And to watch it just, evaporate after 3 months of rehearsal and previews. So it's just painful to be a part of those. With Tarzan, it was just, again, I know Disney at some point was going to go, we got to cut the strings. And they did. And they decided to put the money into Little Mermaid. So knock on my dressing room doors, Kerchak, and I open the door and there's Phil Collins coming back to tell me how wonderful he thinks I am in the part and sit with me in my dressing room and talk old days of Genesis and, and telling him how my, high school talent show was doing in the air tonight and all that stuff.
That'd be cool.
It's pinch me moments that I'm just so very grateful for, during my career and really cool stuff.
So when did you start touring with Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
2001.
Then I saw you in concert.
Yeah, you have a story. You have a story about it.
It's not really a story. It's just in 2002, I was in Northern Illinois and I drove out to Moline at the Mark of the Quad to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Drove through a blizzard and it was fantastic.
Well, Steve, I got to tell you, unfortunately, you did not see me in 2002 because I was doing Dance of the Vampires.
Oh.
I appeared with him only one time at the Beacon Theater to sing Beethoven's Last Night, This Is Who You Are, because I snuck away because Michael was on and I wasn't. So I literally snuck over to the Beacon and did that because I joined TSO to be Beethoven, not to do the Christmas tour. And Paul didn't tour it for 10 years. So I was really going back and forth because I was like, I love the idea, but I've got little kids and, Angel came down and doing that stuff. At that point, I was still climbing the Broadway ladder and doing a lot of shows. And at that time, we weren't playing arenas. So if you saw it in Moline, that would have been in a theater back then, right?
Yeah, well, it's an arena. Yeah. At the time, it was called the Mark of the Quad. I have no idea what it's called now. Yeah, it was right there with Moline, Des Moines, right there on the Mississippi River.
And at that point, Steve, that was the first year we did two bands because we realized we couldn't cover the demand with one band.
Because this would have been the Christmas season of 2002 that I drove out there to see it.
Yeah, and I would have been then in the East Coast band, which did not play your city. But you probably saw a friend of mine named Guy Lemonnier, who was great. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was a great show. I had no complaints.
Yeah.
Except the blizzard.
Yeah, except the blizzard. That's it. Anyways, that's again. Thank you so much. We're gonna have so much to clean up with all the names you've been dropping because, oh my goodness gracious me, the career that you've had, the paths you've crossed.
Sorry.
No, I'm teasing you about it.
This was great. Yeah, thank you for doing this.
I couldn't ask for anything better for our 5th episode, honestly. But anyways, where can people find you on the social medias? Did I say 5th episode? Our 5th anniversary episode.
Instagram at Rob Evan Official. I'm on Facebook at Rob Evan, TikTok, Rob Evan, all the hip kid stuff, trying to create more content. I'm actually starting to work with some artists, which is something that I feel important about. I've had so many great mentors. So I feel like it's time to pass some knowledge on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get that. I have to teach my nephew how to cook the perfect steak so that he can do that for me.
Well, that's, during COVID, that was my artistic way to keep making art as I started heavily into cooking.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's it. Anyways. Alrighty, I want to say a huge thank you to Rob Evan for joining us. It was just a pinch me moment. It really was gobsmacking conversation and an incredible guest, an actual legitimate Thrashin treasure on our show for our 5th anniversary. Anyways, I've got a few thank yous to give this week. Obviously, thank you to Steve, my co-host, and all my co-hosts, Spencer, Dave, our new kid, Jonathan. Am I forgetting anybody? If I am, whoops the daisies. No, of course I haven't. It's Dave, Spencer, Steve, and Jonathan. I work with these 4 amazing guys, and the past few years of working with them, 3 years with Spencer, 2 years with Jonathan, a year with Steve, and a few months with Dave have been an absolute joy, and we have made some incredible episodes together. Anyways, also a huge thank you to Christian Noel for introducing me to Rob. I hope we did good. We're a bunch of rat bags over here. We really are, and it's all crazy. We give our guests homework. That's metal. It might not torture some guests, but it does a lot of them. So I want to thank every guest who sent in a birthday message this week from the bottom of my heart and further down. Neil Roberts, Diane Pilkington, Duncan Sheik, Mig ASR, Tony Sheldon, Caroline Sheen, David Zippel, Craig Bierko. Goodness gracious me, you guys, thank you so much for believing in this little show and believing in me and for enjoying it enough to come back and that goodwill for us and to even want to wish us happy birthday. That's incredible. It really is. I'm so touched to be able to celebrate you guys in this way, not just celebrate. It's so much fun. It really is. But anyways, a couple of other past guests I wanted to say thank you to. Pippa Granderson, as well as Kay Tuckerman. Thank you so much. You are an angel. You have completely changed this year and turned it on its head in the best way. I don't think I even lasted at high school for 5 years. So I also want to thank our most frequent listener and complainer, Drew. Thank you for listening all the time and messaging me your commentary, good and bad. I love it. As well as Jen. You sat there at the theater at my first performance, and now you are 30 years later still listening and reading and watching and everything of the art that I put out there. We get to collaborate on logos and stuff like that. And lastly, thank you to Gareth and his brother Evan, the two boys I started this journey with. Well, I started with Gareth, continue with Evan, and then the past 3 years have been with Spencer and everybody else. And it has been a wild ride. We're not just, as I say, I keep saying it, we're not just a normal podcast. And we go above and beyond for our guests because our guests go above and beyond for us. And I can't wait to have all of you back on this show. We will be back in a few weeks. I do need to take a few weeks off. I've recorded 6 episodes in 8 days. I've edited 3. Well, actually, I've edited more than that. I've also had a 15-year-old turn 16, as well as a mother who has a broken shoulder. So I am very, very, very tired. And people, I need a couple of weeks off. We're going to record a couple of episodes. Don't worry. But in terms of editing episodes, I'm taking a break. I need it. Anyways, I'm going to finish up now and leave you all with somebody else I have to thank, a dear friend, John Paul Yovanov from Musical Theatre Radio. Thank you for your support, your friendship, your coffees, listening to me rant and rave and cry and all that jazz about this industry that we've decided to get ourselves into. I couldn't ask for anyone better to have had as an ally. We joke about being arch nemesis, but thank you for the message that our listeners are about to hear.
We here at the Be Our Guest podcast on Musical Theatre Radio want to congratulate our mortal podcast enemy, Thrashin Treasure, on their 5th anniversary. Just like Jean Valjean has Javert, Simba has Scar, and King George has his Hamilton, I have my Aaron. May we have another decade of interview wars ahead of us, my friend. I raise my virtual glass to you. L'chaim to life.
Like quicksand!
It's true, they also. Okay.